Namaste friends, Suswagatam and welcome to our Sunday edition of Gyan Ganga Words of Wisdom on our Virat Hindustan Sangam various social media channels, and today is our 190th episode 190, and today's topic is, has the time arrived for ideology of the modern right? And Dr. Subramanian Swamy will be speaking on this book he has written and on the topic for the next 40 to 45 minutes, and we will be discussing this issue. As you all know, we are watched across 121 countries across the globe every Sunday for this important program, which, as I mentioned, is on various social media channels of YouTube, Spaces, that is then on Facebook, Instagram, podcast, and etc. So we are on various channels catering to various people on various walks of life. We are also available on YouTube, and all our past episodes and Dr. Swami's talks on various subjects are always available on YouTube in the Virat Hindustan Sangam Virat Hindustan Sangam's channel records. So you can go to YouTube and watch it. I have to thank my co-host Ramesh Swamy and Professor Arvind Chaturvedi from Delhi for hosting this program every Sunday. And I have to thank our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Tejas Navalgul, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Rakesh Gadgi, Vishal Mehta and Ajesh Nair for putting this background material together so that we have this program every Sunday at 8 p.m. So with these words, it's over to Dr. Swamy to initiate the discussion as the time arrived for ideology of the modern right. Over to Dr. Swamy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagdish. In 1947, when we became free of the British, there was a division that was caused by those sections of the Muslim community who didn't want to live with India, with Hindus in India. And they wanted a separate country, and the British obliged them, and the Congress party then, whatever it is, a different Congress party, but still it was a Congress party. They sort of buckled in and agreed to a partition. There were people who were against it. So the biggest opponent was Dr. Ambedkar. And then finally he said, if you are going to partition India, then make an exchange of population of Hindus on both sides coming to India and Muslims on both sides going to Pakistan. But of course that was not accepted. And there was a division in which there was a Muslim Pakistan and a secular India. And in the course of the Constituent Assembly, when the Constitution was being prepared, there were three key people who were responsible. I think Jawaharlal Nehru, for some reason, I think was too much interested in foreign affairs, and so he didn't have time, and he thought that now become Prime Minister, I don't have to worry. But he was mistaken. Because Rajendra Prasad was chosen as the president of the Constituent Assembly to make the constitution. Sardar Patel was made chairman of the Committee for Fundamental Rights, so to incorporate fundamental rights in the constitution. And Dr. Ambedkar was given the onerous task of moving all the amendments and piloting the whole thing, and finally getting an agreed constitutional draft. Because what had happened is the various parties had nominated their representatives, their varieties. So almost everybody was represented in the Constituent Assembly, and marvelous job Dr. Ambedkar did. Of course, he was a very educated man. He got his PhD in economics from Columbia University in 1916. Then he went to Britain and he got another PhD. It was called by some other title, but the London School of Economics gave me another PhD. Then he stayed on to become a lawyer. When he came back to India, he was really dragged into politics, and he's written many books and so on. All this, unfortunately, because Jawaharlal Nehru had this deep jealousy of him, I think, he was pushed to a corner, and only after the Janata emerged on the scene in 1989, after Ambedkar got he got his Bharat Ratna. So I mean, he should have been honored much earlier. And Sardar Patel got it in '91 when I was a minister, and the file was. Chandrasekhar asked me for suggestions, and I went through the files and was shocked to find Sardar Patel's name not there. So anyway, we corrected for that, and Sardar Patel got it. Now, these three, Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Patel, and Ambedkar, they are the three people who created the Constitution. And it was this Constitution with little pluses and minuses here. I mean, since little minuses here and there, is perhaps the best Constitution I've seen of all the constitutions in the world. And it's a very bulky one also, almost 400 articles and so on, and the preamble, which is something that everybody should read. I have been in review for many years, and especially after coming to Jansang, and at that time, Nanaji Deshmukh asked me whether I could read the Constitution and tell him whether we need a new Constitution. And after reading it and getting from him all the basic things that he wanted to include in the new Constitution, I said it's already included in the present Constitution. So, only thing that's happened wrong, which I'll come back to a little later again, is that during the emergency, Mrs. Gandhi put in what is called as the preamble. The preamble is not part of the Constitution, but it tells you the sentiment of the people of the country as to what they want the Constitution to represent. So it's in the very beginning it is put there, and all the articles of the Constitution start after it. So in the preamble, which you can't amend in any circumstance, because it's the voice of the people at that particular time, there was no reference to socialism and secularism. And Mrs. Gandhi got it included. And I have a petition pending in the Supreme Court, which will come any time. A lot of people are nervous that indeed I will make out a case, because there was no power under the Constitution to amend the preamble. The preamble cannot be amended, and it just has a fixed date and so on. So that whole thing is a fraud, and so that apart. Otherwise, if you read the Constitution, read the preamble, you will see that the sentiments that we have in sophisticated way represent what we call as Hindutva. And I would like to make this point over and over again, that Hindutva is not Hinduism. It is the Hindu values, and these values include, let 100, like Mao Zedong used to say, let 100 flowers bloom. All kinds of ideas, so many variations, so many gods, so many. There's just not one God like in other religions, or one son of God. So this democratic spirit is actually Hinduism, and we may not have called it Hinduism, but we have called it India in the Hindi version as Bharat. And Bharat is the name of a king who actually showed that you can choose somebody as a king, not necessarily the son or the daughter of the king, but somebody whom he thought was capable, and he did it. He rejected all his sons' claim to be a king, and that's why we name him after. They named the country after him. That is the constitutional name of the country is Bharat. Of course, our cultural name is Hindustan, and the word Hindu, there's been a lot of propaganda which after researching I find it is just nothing but rotten propaganda. That Hindu was actually the word Sindhu, and the Arabs couldn't pronounce Sir, so they pronounced it as a Hindu, Sindhu as a Hindu. And this has been going on and on and on and on. I'm thankful now, finally, after almost 10 years, the BJP government has brought out a draft of a history book that will be prescribed for schools. Long overdue, but anyway, better late than never. So what I would say is the word Hindu, I'm producing in my new book, which is coming after this, and that book will be called Vishwaguru. Can India be Vishwaguru again? Because India was Vishwaguru. Vishwaguru is not a name of an individual, it is the name of a country. And well, India can be, and all the markers for it are put out and show that India easily can be that. So we have our country, the British wanted to destroy our identity. So they picked up this Aryan and Dravidian. There is no such thing as an Aryan. Arya is only one word which comes to explain for everybody in India who behaves in a polished, civilized way. And Dravida is a name which was actually invented, if I may say so, by Adi Shankara when he went around the country converting everybody who wanted to debate with him through the debate, which is called Shastrat. He converted them, and so finally from Kerala he went all the way, he reached Bihar, and there the greatest exponent, Mandana Mishra, was there, and he confronted him and said, let's have a debate. I lose, I become Buddhist, you lose, you become Hindu. And of course, Mandana Mishra lost and became Hindu, and he was the first Shringeri Shankaracharya, anointed by Adi Shankara. So, but when Adi Shankara went into that, Mandana Mishra had a very, very bright wife, very knowledgeable. So there was a question, who will be the umpire? So Adi Shankara himself said, after the two of us, there's only one person who can equal us, and that is your wife. So let her be the umpire. And she umpired the debate and declared her husband as loser. So that's how objective she was. But she asked the first question, who are you? He said, I am a Dravida Shishu. So he was asked to explain what is this word Dravida. So he said, of course, Shishu means child, and child. And Dravida is a sandhi of two words, Thra and Vid, which means where the three, Thra is three and the coasts meet, and that is South India. So the word Dravid was never a racial thing. This is only the British who put it up. It was a region. And Arya was a person that could be from north, south, east, west, as long as it's culturally, a proficient person. So I'm saying that even a simple thing like what's your identity, they say even on Hindu, there's so much confusion has been caused by British and Jawaharlal Nehru's mistake of continuing this Ravishi history, which thank God the BJP came to power in absolute majority, and that we at least began the process, not as fast as I would like it to be, but it has begun. Now we've reached the stage where the books are ready and they have to be cleared, maybe even submitted to Parliament for discussion. So the true history comes out, and what does it come out? That we are a very ancient country. Everybody says, no, you see, we were 300 BC because Alexander came, and he was the first one to see. Well, Alexander never came to India. He sent his representative, and he was defeated, and he himself was defeated. And he went on the way, I think in Persia, or someplace beyond that, he died out of sheer broken heart, because he had been winning everywhere, but he was defeated in India. There's no porous, all. So what is my source? So I have to put that in and tell people to create that. The source is that all dates in the history of India for thousands and thousands of years was based on the position of the stars and the planets. And who recorded that? The Puranas, and and especially Vishnu Purana and these Purana. There's another Purana which deals only with dates. They tell you the exact dates. How do I know that Mahabharat war was fought on 3000 and 21 or something like that, February? The date, everything is given in those 18 dates of war. All are given in the Puranas. And the Puranas mention the star position, particularly the star positions and the planet position. And then from that, mathematically, they derive what is the date. So therefore, I don't think there's any difficulty in genuine history book based on dates. The next thing I want to say is there have been 45 cultures which in the world, and they've all out of except one, and I'll tell you which one later, but you can guess. All the other 44 have disappeared. Mesopotamia, there is the pharaohs in Egypt. All these great cultures that were there all disappeared. They were there for some time, then they became corrupt and disappeared. India is the only one which has a continuous Hindu civilization and unbroken. It may have had problems because of these invasions that took place, which made us poor also, and then also go into hiding. So therefore, this is one great point which we have to say, that we are a continuous civilization. To call India Hindustan is in cultural terms perfectly acceptable, and you will be surprised that even Muslims use the word Hindustan. There was a great poet who later on went over Pakistan, who said "Sare jahan se acha Hindustan," which is sung even today by our army, and they play the band. They have this band ceremony functions. So what I'm saying is that the idea of becoming a Vishwaguru is by first becoming a modern society, a modern Hindu society, or what I called as a modern right. Why? Because right is the only one that will fit the Indian Constitution. If you bring a left, I mean right and left, I mean right wing and left wing. Broadly speaking, right means freedom to express opinions, democratic society, so on and so forth. All the things that we have, some of it not in truncated form, but we have it, and we have elections. We have defeated people who people thought will never be able to be defeated, like Indira Gandhi after the emergency. So I would say that India has to move right. It had moved left after 1947, and it was because of Jawaharlal Nehru. There were others also who were a little confused about the fact that the Soviet Union was doing so well, but later on people found out that it was all hollow, and today there's no Soviet Union also. And then if you compare Soviet societies with democratic societies like East Germany and West Germany, of course now they've become one. But if you compare East Germany and West Germany, East Germany was Soviet. I mean, it was socialism and communism, state ownership of all means of production, and West Germany was democratic and market economy. And West Germany is far ahead. Even today, if you go to the United Germany, you find East Germany is so much poorer by comparison. Same thing with North Korea and South Korea. South Korea to democracy and not only democracy but also to market economy. And even China, which is not a democracy, but they switched to market economy. So we need this right. India should be in the right. It should be in the right corner, and the right corner requires democracy, and with democracy, market economy. These two are there that is required. So when you push India towards the market economy, the state takeover is all limited to a very small amount, and only for certain emergencies. But by and large, allowing people to do their thing. If their taxation system, it should be a reasonable one. So these are things which will be one of my chapters in the new book, how what the economy should be when we are a Vishwa Guru, and we want to influence the whole world, and so then we'll have to see that the products we produce are of class. So what I'm saying today is that we have come out of this socialism madness, this craze for, even today there's some craze for Russia because they think it is the same Russia which is called Soviet Union. That was so much more bigger. In fact, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. Today's Russia and today's Ukraine, there were two states of the Soviet Union. Then they all broke into 16 pieces in 1991 and 92. So, we are the examples of Soviet Union and China, because China today, yes, the Americans helped them a lot to get, once they brought their economy into capitalistic mode. They allowed their markets, American, Europeans, they opened their markets for the Chinese, and the Chinese prospered. But today you find China is beginning to have problems, and that's why some of their aggression that is coming out against its neighbors is because of that. So India is a democratic country. India has a long tradition of democracy, thousands and thousands of years. And in many, many aspects, Indian women were the freest. Even when we worship gods, the women gods are superior to the men gods. For example, when the Asuras had to be killed, all the male gods failed, and ultimately they had to go to Durga and say, "Please save us." And after that, she took the Kali root and killed him. So they, the issue, of course, the women and men, they had their different personalities. They are not identical, but within the framework of humanity, human rights, they are the same. There was no difference. It's only afterward the Islamic rules that the women had to be put in parda and away, and not to be seen in case somebody eyes on them. So I am saying that here we can become very quickly. We can become Vishwa Guru, provided first we become a modern right. And modern right means some of the things have to be given. Now, what are the things to be given in our religion, for example? In our religion, we have what is called as, we have two parts to our religious granthas. You see, one is called Shruti and the other is called Smriti. So Shruti is what Vedas are Shruti. Shruti, you see, means you can't amend it. It is, God has given it to you. God has given it to these rishis who then wrote it up. Recently they were all oral, but over the years, they got to be written. So we have Vedas, and that is Veda, Rig Veda, then Upanishads, so there are four Vedas. Vedas are divided into four parts. Then there are other aspects also. These are what we call Shruti, which means you cannot amend them. So whatever was said then, what was being noted, that continues today. But there is another part which people don't realize, and that is called Smriti. Smriti means that these are made for the way of living, and they can be amended. So Manu had a Smriti, and then after that Yajnavalkya came and said, no, that's out of date. So his Smriti, then Mitakshara, So now we can say the Constitution of India is a Smriti. So whatever the Constitution says should be your behavior or should be adopted. So when I say modern, I'm not going to say you have to obey some Manu Smriti or something like that. I say you have to obey the Constitution. And the Constitution of India has all the things that Hindus would like it to be, and that's why I say that Sardar Patel, Rajendra Prasad, and Ambedkar, three, and Ambedkar, by the way, was a great scholar of Hinduism. It is Jawaharlal Nehru made him bitter, and then he went to the other extreme. But otherwise, right from the day he was a student in Columbia, he was one of the most Hindu nationalists that you could think, and he was also highly educated. It was a pity to see this Jawaharlal Nehru could pass an examination being over his head. So anyway, those are things in the past. But I would say that the Constitution has so many things which you will be surprised. And I made a note of it. For example, banning cow slaughter is not the madness of some Bajrang Dal people. It is in the Constitution as Article 48. Mahatma Gandhi had only one request to the Constituent Assembly: please put in ban on cow slaughter. And immediately Ambedkar complied and put it in. And so it is there. So when